Yo, so we got another video for you guys. And this time it's academics reacting and me reacting to academics react to another reaction. Yeah, it's like a inception of reactions. But what it is, it's just I like academics reaction. Sometimes he has some good topics and some good reactions, and this is him reacting to Russ talking about how music has changed in the past 10 years.
About how he thinks rap music has changed in the past 10 years. And he's telling like these stark differences about how he feels people are receiving music. Check this out.
So here's how I think rap music has changed in like the past 10 years, which I'm sure people are amped to hear my opinion on white guy talking about rap. Here we go. So I feel like the message used to be the meal and the sound used to be the seasoning. And now it feels like the sound, the rapper's voice, the flow, the beat, the melody, the delivery, that's the meal and the message is optional. It's like almost like everything except what's being said is what matters. And I think streaming obviously changed the stakes. Like we went from ownership where it was exciting to like buy an album. I remember buying the Blueprint 3 and Kid Cudi's debut album the same day in Target. And you listen to the whole album because that is how we consumed music. And then was
Yeah, I had to stop here. I know I'm annoying, but yeah. He's got a point there. The way people consume music is a bit different these days. I mean, I remember it used to be albums, and people used to really buy albums. I mean, Jay-Z was pushing for albums because what it is, people, once you start getting to streaming and like iPods and stuff like what people did, they just picked their best songs that they like from an album and compiled it into a little compilation. Because not every song on an album's good. I'm not gonna name certain artists, but certain artists will have great hot singles, but the rest of the songs on the album were pure bull filler, and you think to yourself like, man, these songs are garbage, and you buy the whole album thinking you're gonna get hot tracks. You get like 4 hot tracks, and the rest is terrible, and you feel tricked sometimes when you see, when you get a good couple of singles, and you're like, wow, this is hot. Then when you get the whole album, you're like, no. These songs are garbage. Because I've had that. I've had certain albums I've gone into thinking that they're going to be good. And then when I heard the rest of the tracks, it's like, man, these songs are weak. Certain songs are just weak. And, they know what to push for singles. That's the whole point. The whole point of a single is to trick you into buying the album. Well, that's me chatting rubbish there. No, here you go.
streaming, it went to blips, moments, moods, just songs, quick skips, adding this to the playlist, not adding this. And so it just became about instant retention, and not long-term resonance. And I just feel like we went from being raised on lyrical excellence, pen first lineage, all the top rappers used to always just it was what they were saying. They all had quotables and lyrics that were tattooed on people's bodies, and it was all about what was being said. They all sounded good too. The songs sounded good, but it was very much like a pen first lineage that I feel like I grew up on. And now I feel like the audience is being raised on vibe curations. Now I'll say this,
You got a good point there. I remember when I was here listening to music, 1999, early 2000s, and a lot of the time you had these super producers. You remember the super producers? The Timberlands, the Neptunes, the Alchemists, the Swiss Beats. Who else was out there? Just Blaze. Manny Fresh was a good one as well. He was like a super producer, but he was like in-house kind of with Cash Money. Yeah. Let me see if I forgot one. Nah. Rockweiler. Rockweiler was another big one as well. He was different. Yeah, and you had the super producer. I remember going into shops, and if I didn't see those guys saying, "With the song produced by Timberland or Neptunes," I'd be like, this ain't so hot. Cause that you could. What it is. The mill, to me, what he's saying, the mill was this, and then he got a little sauce on top. No. The mill was the production. If you didn't have a solid hot beat, I didn't care for it. if it weren't produced by Neptune or Timbaland, I didn't really care for it. Cause those beats sold the album. Like, like a Nori beat. Nori, he was mostly produced by Neptunes, and those beats were damn awesome, man. You couldn't mess with those Neptune beats. Same thing with Timbaland. Jay-Z married with Timbaland, amazing beats, And Timbaland with anybody, you're hearing something completely different from your ears, and you're like, nah, that sounds dope. And yeah, that's what I remember. That's what was going on back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Now it doesn't really matter about beats right now, Neptunes aren't really forefront. They used to control hip hop back in the days. You weren't saying nothing if you never had your album produced by Neptunes or Timbaland. But now, yeah, it doesn't really matter. You still got super producers right now, but it ain't really something that's needed to sell an album. But as I said before, you still got good producers.
I get it, because when I listen to other genres, I'll admit, I'm just listening for vibe, mood, feeling, the whole thing. But I think it's nuanced. And not to disrespect other genres, but when I'm listening to other genres, I'm not going into it expecting any sort of poetic density. I do.
Yeah.
He's got a point here as well, so I'm gonna put my little 2 cents in there. With hip hop as a whole, they did used to have a message. They used to be more about lyricism than people just chatting rubbish. Right now, with the SoundCloud rappers, man, I've seen a lot of these dudes. They can't even rap. They can't even freestyle. All that's out the window. It used to be a time when you used to battle rap to get your name out there, and also used to go on shows. Like, remember the Lyricist Sound Show? I used to be in America, and they used to be like BET, and they had these like battle raps, and that shows people's talent. And there was one with MTV where you could get signed to Rockefeller. They had this battle rap competition. I remember one was like with this guy called Rain Man. I think he won or something like that. Rain Man, another guy didn't win, or maybe he did win. One guy won, and I think he got signed, but they shelved him or something like that. Can't remember what his name was, but it was at a time when I remember seeing him win the battle rap. I was like, he ain't gonna make it on Rockefeller. I understand from his point of view. He's like, I made it. I'm with Jay-Z and these guys, and those guys in the Rockefeller camp. They're sitting down fighting for their position because they know that within the camp itself, it was literally self-destruction. I know I've gone off on a tangent, but I remember seeing certain moves when that was happening, and I was like, nah. I was thinking to myself like, he ain't gonna make it there. He's gonna be shelved, and they shelved him, and he never released anything. I think he won. So I think someone insulted him saying they gave him the Rockefeller jacket and they threw him away. That was one of the lines I think Rayman must have gave him. And he got hurt. But yeah, man, it's one of those things. Like, the lyricism isn't there anymore. It just doesn't matter. It's just people looking for a vibe and a feeling when it comes to these music that they have these days. And even with the music these days, I listen to the early music, and a lot of people said the earlier music from like, you listen to like Nelly, Dilemma, songs like that, they do have a feeling to them. And people said, the music these days, they just don't kick like they did back then. They did have more of a feeling than they have now. It's more of a vibe. Some of this stuff is like stuff you just smoke to, if you like smoking.
Yeah, and I hate to pause him while he's playing that. I've heard that so much about Buju Banton, who's a huge legendary reggae / dancehall artist. He's made that claim about Afro beats. He's like, hey, listen, when we talk about our local music, which is like reggae and dancehall, yeah, we have feel good music, but it's also about our struggle. Afro beats, primarily, seemingly the ones that pop off, it's solely about vibes.
Yeah, it's about a feeling.
Kind of like
Vibes.
I feel like a lot of music is about vibes now. It's just about I seen someone trying to explain to someone else Cardi. And this was 2.5 years ago. And they were telling the person, because the person couldn't understand why Cardi was like beloved. and they were like, yo, listen, it's not about necessarily what he's saying. It's about like the vibe of what the feeling of the music is given. And the person was kind of like shocked. They were like, what? But that was a good explanation. It's about the energy, the vibe. It's about the creation of that feeling rather than.
Have you ever wished your pipeline could build?
Okay, I'm gonna cut off academic stuff. He's got a point. The creation of a feeling, I don't know what to make of, because some of these new guys, man, they come up and give me demonic energy. That's the thing. That's the feeling I give them. When I listen to their music and when I see them on stage, they come across weird, like weirdos. Like, imagine these dudes back in 1999, early 2000s. People will be like, get out of hip hop. You got guys wearing thongs, dressing up in skirts, like Young Thug, a guy dressed in a dress, man. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. People don't respect that. You got people near enough saying that almost looking like they're worshipping the devil and stuff like that. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in hip hop, which I felt like if you were being in the early times of hip hop, bringing that type of energy, nah, they wouldn't accept it. Now it's like anything goes. You got guys like Lil Uzi Vert dressing up as like a different character. I don't know what he's going. He say he worshipped the devil. He's taking people to hell. He's dressed up some nerdy, geeky. I don't know what's going on. You got guys dressing up in thongs like Cardi. I don't know. It's a man thong or something like that. It works for them. You know, it's the social media era now these days. Because back in the days there wasn't no social media. You know, you couldn't really publicize things like this. Things that were going on, but it weren't really that big of a deal. In hip hop, you know, you get your Source magazine, you hear them doing a little puff piece, you know, controlled by their little management, what they want in and out. But other than that, you know, it wasn't anything that was like mass produced on a daily basis like you got now with social media, where you actually know the ins and outs of these guys' lives, of what they want you to believe that is their lives. A lot of it isn't really true, but apart from that, yeah, I agree with him, man. The music has changed a lot over the past 10 years, and it's gonna keep changing with the times. You know, but we've gone through the SoundCloud era where, you know, you got a lot of people came up through that, and they couldn't necessarily. They're not really great rappers, but they managed to make a living and a name for themselves through SoundCloud. It got them popping. Some people did become legendary, like Exodus Tentacion. He became like pretty much a legendary SoundCloud rapper. But others, you know, like Lil Pump, man, they kind of came and went and kind of fell off, man. You don't really hear much from him anymore. He might come back. You never know. People can come back and you be like, whoa, Lil Pump came back with a hit. But I don't think his time's done with it, and I think he knows it. You know, he's just out there policing the crowd. He's servicing the little fans he has. Ain't out here trying to knock the guy. But I think that he realized that was his time. Everyone has a time for themselves, and it's open. And then after that, they kind of like that was your era. Goodbye. Some people, old school rappers, Busta Rhymes, Redman, Method Man, they can still keep going. They ain't as big as they used to be, but you know, they still got fans out there. I'm a fan, you know. But do I listen to all the music they put out now? No, I just don't have the time to. It's a lot that's being put in my face right now with all the new rappers and the old. It's a lot to consume, and it isn't really funneled how it was before, where you had your Source, MTV. It's everywhere, and you have to be following these people to find it. Otherwise, they just get drowned out by the machines of the big companies and the big record companies out there that are actually funneling in the music to you. But those guys, they're just servicing their fans. But yeah, I'm out, you know. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment.